Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the second edition of the Lowell Street Safety Meeting. My name is Kathleen Harris. I'm the Lowell City Councilor at 105.
Robert Logan, what about City Council?
We've been working collaboratively with you all, and the last meeting had a lot of people here on here tonight. I think Pete's with the Rivermont PTO meeting and a couple of other things. The meeting is being recorded by 70 News, which will be shared, as well as all materials that the mayor and the team has prepared will be electronically shared. I do want to thank you all for coming here tonight and making time for this. And anybody who watches the broadcast of this meeting afterwards, I want you to know your voice was heard and your voice matters. I want to thank the mayor and her team. We listened for 2.5 hours the last time and focused on some emails and responses. We're trying to solve for what's going to make Lowell Street safe and return it to the neighborhood that we know it deserves to be.
No, just echo what my colleague said, and as always, remind people, if you haven't already signed up for my news, I sound like one of those late night infomercials. If you haven't already signed up for my newsletter, my monthly newsletter, get a copy from me, send me an email, I'll push on those.
Okay, one last thing. On your seats is a flyer. We are having office hours, open office hours. We're preparing capital improvement budget preparation. No request is too small. We can hear from you what you want to see with your neighborhood. Robert and I work diligently to be your voice on the south side today. And we think of it like easily and there's support for moving in the right direction. Thank you very much.
The office hours, even if you have a little question, just drop by and say hi. I'll buy you a cup of coffee.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I just wanted to say, why is the mayor involved? The mayor is involved because of the process and also the requirement. I'm the one that has to appropriate or not. So this matter came to me with a request to put it out to bid. And I said, there hasn't been any meeting yet. So that's why we haven't had a meeting. I have included all of the minutes of the meeting to the traffic commission. And what I wanted to do is kind of meet tonight and see what your comments are. And then I will present a recommendation to the traffic commission. When it came to me, there was no process for capital improvements or anything. So the traffic engineer does not work for the mayor. The traffic commission does not work for the mayor either. They are independent bodies. The city engineer works for the mayor. And how he got involved was the traffic engineer sent him the plans to design. Unknown to me, I didn't know that, but when he told me that there was all kinds of infrastructure that was going to be taken out and removed, I said, well, you better go to the plan. Okay? So I have some comments tonight about the history and things, about policies and everything, and then I'm going to turn it over to the traffic engineer to give you the actual plan. Okay? So this is called the Southside Safety Plan with proposals. Southside Safety Plan. Is that echoing too much?
Not too bad.
A little bit?
A little bit, but it's okay.
The south side of Waltham was established when part of Newton was annexed to Waltham on April 16, 1849 by chapters 105 of the Acts of 1849 of the Massachusetts State Legislature. The annexed land was south of the Charles River, and it extended from the Watertown line across the Waltham line to the western line at South Street. The price for the entire south side was $1,000. According to an 1888 map of the city of Waltham by J.D. Beers and Company, the south side streets were laid out with streets running north and south, with intersecting and bisecting streets running east and west. It was then, and is now, a dense area. On many occasions, the traffic commission members have stated, when we do one thing on the south side, it just pushes the problem over to another street. My safety goal is that you, and I'm talking to the traffic commission members as president, that you will address not only Lowell Street, but then the entire south side, to make the south side safer for all. City land. The traffic commission etc., have no jurisdiction with respect to city land. That is reserved to the city council and mayor. The care, custody, and control of the streets are reserved to the Department of Public Works. Next type, accidents on the south side. The number of traffic accidents on the south side can be obtained by the Traffic Commission or Police Department or both, from police, fire, and ambulance records. I am requesting that the Traffic Commission and Police Department obtain the police, fire, and ambulance records for Lowell Street and all the other streets on the south side for the last 3 years. I'm requesting that the Police Department and Traffic Commission get together that data and then designate all of the accidents on the map for the south side. I'm also going to be directing the police chief, but asking the Traffic Commission that accident map be updated annually. And it be used by the Police Department and Traffic Commission for formulation of the south side safety measures. The same accident mapping should be done for all other neighborhoods in the city. I just feel this is proper planning. I am advised that on Sunday, October 12, 2025, there was an accident at the intersection of Lowell and Brown with injuries. Additionally, I'm advised there were accidents on 7/22/25, 7/17/25, 4/1/25, 3/23/25, 3/3/25, 2/25, 25, 12/4/24, and 10/24/24. Now, I went out, and I'm going to now talk about the existing conditions as of October 21st, 2025. I went out and viewed the site on 10 occasions. Now, why would I do such a thing? One, I wanted to see what the facts were, what the existing conditions were, but I also wanted to see the perspective of somebody who's going to the south side all the time, to see what they experienced. So, Lowell Street is a two-way street which runs north and south from Pine Street to Derby Street. 15 streets. Lowell Place, Taylor, Cushing, Chestnut, High, Waltham, Murray, Ash, Brown, Robbins, Wadsworth Avenue, Fuller Street, Washington Avenue, Left Street, and Laurel Avenue all intersect with Lowell. Aside from Moody Street, Lowell Street is the most central street on the south side. Gilmore Playground is adjacent to Lowell and High Streets. Dana Court Public Housing Project Complex is also off of Lowell Street. There is no posted speed limit on Lowell Street. There appears to be handicap corners at each of the intersections of Lowell Street. Cars are parking up on the sidewalk on the westerly side of Lowell Street. In many cases, the cars or trucks cannot fit within the painted rectangle parking box and stick out into Lowell Street. As cars from Pine Street enter Lowell Street, they go over the double lines. There have been accidents there as well. And it goes without saying that the sticks are there for temporary. Crosswalks, painted crosswalks. There are four-way crosswalks at Taylor and Lowell, Cushing and Lowell, Chestnut and Lowell, High and Lowell, Alden and Lowell, Myrtle and Lowell, Ash and Lowell, and Robbins and Lowell. There are three-way crosswalks at Washington Avenue. Two of the crosswalks are way into the interior of the street, which needs to be fixed. There are no crosswalks at Lowell going north. There is one crosswalk at Lowell going south. There are no two-way crosswalks. There is one crosswalk at Pine and Lowell, Lowell going south, Wadsworth Avenue, Craft Street, Laurel Avenue, and Derby and Lowell. There are no crosswalks at Brown and Lowell, Lowell North at Washington, and Fuller Street. Now, as far as traffic restrictions and signage, and this will play an important part later in this report, there are full traffic signals at Lowell and High. There are two overhead flashing traffic signals, yellow and red lights at Taylor and Lowell and Cushing. And Lowell and Cushing. Cushing and Taylor have a flashing red signal. There are multiple types of no parking signs on Lowell Street from Derby to Pine Street. On the easterly side, there are 19 signs, and on the westerly side, there are 4 signs, 3 of which are next to the Gilmore Building. There are 14 no parking here to the corner signs on the westerly side of the wall. There are various one-way restrictions in the streets off Wall Street. There are 2 intersections Street on Lowell Street after Ash, going south on the westerly side, and the other going north from Four Robbins on the easterly side of the road. There are double yellow lines on Lowell Street. There is a straight yellow arrow at Waltham Street. There is no parking on the easterly side of Lowell. There is parking on the westerly side of Lowell except at Gilmore Playground and down in the Pine and Road intersection due to cars and accidents entering Lowell Street from Pine. Stop signs for the intersecting street with Lowell are as follows. Lowell at Pine 1, Lowell Place 0, Taylor Street 2, Cushing Street 1, Chestnut Street 2, I Street has the signals, Walter Street 2, Myrtle Street has 3 as of 10, 18, 25, Ash Street 2, Brown Street 2, Robin Street 2, Wadsworth Avenue 2, Fuller Street 0, Washington Avenue 2, Pratt Street 1, Laurel Avenue 1, Derby Street 1. Now, part of the proposed plan that does involve non-traffic, I'm going to go into it now. On the easterly side of Lowell Street, I'm recommending granite curbing, concrete sidewalks, and some appropriate trees as recommended by the city's office, and with level steel drainage pits in the sidewalk and trees. There is no recommended bike trail since the city engineer indicated to me that Lowell Street is too narrow. I'm also asking for a review of the various no parking signs on the easterly side of Lowell Street and the 4 on the westerly side of Lowell to see if they are accurate and consistent. On the westerly side of Lowell, similar to the easterly, I'm recommending granite curbing, concrete sidewalks, and some appropriate trees as recommended by the city's office for steel pits. Now, on the westerly side of Lowell, when designing the street, I'm recommending that they widen the lots where the vehicles are allowed to park, so that the vehicles are not sticking out into the street. I think that can be achieved because they're doing the whole street over so they can try to accommodate that unsafe parking blocks. I also recommend that the flashing overhead signals at Cushing and Lowell and Taylor and Lowell be evaluated, or whether one or not are both needed. I have provided to, city engineer has this from us with an Excel spreadsheet for the traffic commission regarding the specific proposals for the south side plan. Now I'd like to talk about the book that the traffic engineers had to go by. It's called the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices for Streets and Highways, MUTCD. And I'd like to quote a few things because usually when the councilors, they've gone many times to the traffic commission and they get frustrated, as we all do, and they always say, this is the book, this is the warrants, this is why you can't do it. So I went back and looked at all of that. It's thousands of pages, but we have what I said here. The purpose of that MUTCD is to establish uniform national criteria for the use of traffic control devices that meet the needs and expectancy of road users on all streets, highways, pedestrian and bicycle facilities, and site roadways open to the public. Traffic control devices are defined, specifically defined, and guidance is provided as to what they can and cannot do. Now, infrastructure elements are not traffic control devices. Infrastructure elements that restrict the road users' travel paths and vehicle speeds, such as islands, curbs, speed humps, and other raised roadway surfaces, are not traffic control devices. Transverse and longitudinal rumble strips are also not a traffic control device. So that means they don't have the same warrant. In other words, bar that you have to get over to be able to use. Okay, right-of-way intersections. There are various provisions and guidance for right-of-way intersections. And generally, an engineering study is recommended. Now, all through this, what they're saying is you need to do your planning, which I'm saying get the data first about the accidents, and do your planning and, have a study with that. Now, this is what they always say. Yield and stop signs shall not be used in bold, shall not be used for speed control. And that's a warrant. Now, the all-way stop control provides support And this is kind of dry, but it says, the provisions in the following sections describe warrants for the recommended engineering study to determine all-way stop control. Warrants are not a substitute for engineering judgment. The fact that a warrant for a particular traffic control device is met is not conclusive justification to install or not to install all-way stop control, because each intersection will have unique characteristics that affect its operational performance or safety. It is an engineering study for a given intersection that is the ultimate basis for a decision to install or not install a stop control. There are various provisions in warrants with regard to that, and I list all that as well. They also give guidance, and I'll give you what the warrants are, I'm going to that in detail. The decision to establish an all-way stop, which is what some of this is being asked of, at an unsignalized intersection should be based upon an engineering study. The engineering study for all-way stop control should include an analysis of factors related to the existing operation and safety at the intersection, the potential to improve these conditions, and the applicable factors contained in the following all-way stop control warrants. Warrant A, crash experience. Warrant B, sight distance. Warrant C, transition to signal control or yield control in a circular intersection. Warrant D, an 8-hour volume analysis of vehicles, pedestrians, and bicycles. And the last is other factors. Now, signage can be used to supplement traffic control. So those are basically the summary of the provisions. Now, I would like to now provide a liability analysis and a personal account of someone. It says here, the City of Waltham Traffic Commission has installed various signage and traffic control devices on Lowell Street, including traffic signals at High and Low, flashing red and yellow signals at Cushing Road and Timberlake Road, 14 no parking here corner signs, 4-way, 3-way, and single crosswalks at various intersections, stop signs, various no parking signs, intersection signs, and one-way restrictions. The city is evaluating issues including site distances, accidents, street layout, and density. Concerns remain with the above. With regard to the site issues, the vehicle operator has to come almost out into the middle of the street because of the poor site issue. At least with a 3-way or a 4-way stop, people traveling north or south on Lowell or entering or exiting Lowell will have to do it in a sequence. Generally, if a municipality is aware of an unsafe dangerous condition, there is an obligation to try to abate it. I suggested the water department be consulted. So despite all of that, we still have safety issues. Now, on a personal note, in the 60s, there were no traffic lights at Cedarwood Gate, which is right off Route 20. So on Western Street. At the Cedarwood Gate and Western Street, there was no traffic signal. And the state would not agree to it because as you came up Western Street, the cars could not see the light. So the neighbors continued to ask for it. And finally, the state agreed because what they did is they lowered Western Street enough so the people coming east, that is east and west, on Western Street could see the traffic signals. So after all that, this is a tremendous, number of cars trying to get onto the highway as well as into Cedarwood. The state later agreed to the signal. Okay? Now, in the mid-1980s, in the middle of December, while driving up the hill on Cedarwood Avenue for lunch, I was hit broadside by a driver of Virginia, who was going from one side of Virginia Road across Cedarwood Avenue to the other side of Virginia. And he was traveling at 50 miles an hour. The Jeep hit me on the driver's side near my gas tank. His bumper walked into my car. He swung my car all the way around, so I was going the other way. I was going this way, and I went the other way. Landing my car against the left pole on Cedarwood Avenue. I suffered a concussion. Fortunately, I was not killed. Later, I petitioned the traffic commission for stop signs in Seawood, which there were none. The traffic commission agreed to the stop signs, and later they had agreed to other stop signs. I respectfully ask that the safety conditions in the Lowell Street neighborhood be addressed as well. Now, I have actually everything that's on the map that Bob is going to give you, but I also have the following attachments, which is a plan from the city engineer, my communication to the city council on October 8, 2025, regarding city council regarding Wall Street. I have the neighborhood meeting comments, 3 pages of the comments from the September 29th meeting. And I have various provisions on the law. So that is basically what I'd like to say. And I'm going to turn it over to Bob, whenever Mr. Wong is also here, the assistant engineer, to discuss with you the actual plan. Okay? And then we'll open it to questions. Okay?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So this is the plan. I'll just walk through the plan. Sorry, it's a little difficult for me to see, but the rest of it I can describe. The plan is basically trying to, of course, slow down traffic, which is a primary objective, residential safety, and something that can be implemented fairly quickly. So there might be issues that this is something that can be implemented fairly quickly. Let me just walk it through. So we'll start on Pine Street and work our way south. So on Pine Street, we're calling for some no parking striping on the other side to help the site vision when you're coming out on Pine Street. So that no one's parking in blocking vision coming out. A rumble strip in the middle, because some people from Pine Street that are coming and kind of cutting into the northbound lane, this way, so you want to put a rumble strip in there to keep everyone in the right lane. Coming up to Taylor, we're talking about putting a 3-way stop at Taylor, and Taylor does not have crosswalk painting, so we're going to have crosswalk painting in Taylor. So that's what slow people down Taylor Street. Then coming over to Cushing, we're adding additional stop sign on the north side as you're coming up Cushing, and then we're adding crosswalk painting because there's no crosswalk painting there now. As you're coming further up, on Chestnut, we're adding another stop sign on Chestnut to slow people down. Chestnut already has crosswalk painting at that intersection. Now, to keep people from rushing to get through the light at High Street, we're going to add a speed bump on the southbound side here on Wall Street to slow people down and make sure they don't rush to make the light in and try to come through High Street fairly quickly. And then the same thing on the northbound side, if you're coming north to try to beat the light and speed up to try to get through here, especially when we have a playground in this area. As you're coming up now on Alder, there's no improvements that we need on Alder. We do have already striping on Alder, so we don't need to do anything up there. On Myrtle, I think there's already a stop sign at Myrtle.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
Yeah, so that's nice. So that's already there. We're also calling the stop bar on Myrtle on the west side here needs to be pushed up a little bit. It's a little back, so we're calling for that. And then there's on the southbound side on the west here, there's no parking structure. We're going to add those on the side. Coming up to Ash Street, adding a couple of on the west side again, on the north and south side, adding no parking stripes. Again, to help with the vision. And then we're going to add a speed bump between Ash and where they have to stop here like Roberts. Also, just to make sure people aren't rushing and to slow people down. On Brown, we're going to paint the crosswalks on Brown because currently they're not painted. three-way stop sign on Robbins with crosswalk painting, because there's no crosswalk painting now. So that's, again, keep traffic slowing down as we move. Nothing in Wadsworth, there's a crosswalk already there. We're going to add a crosswalk at Fuller right here. As you're coming up to Washington, we're going to add another three-way stop at Washington. And I think Washington's painted, the crosswalks are painted there already, so we're all set there. And then we're adding another no parking site on the west side and the southbound side here. That again, the vision, to help the vision. And then we're adding crosswalks, striping at Craft and at Laurel. And we're adding a speed bump on the north side here between Craft and Laurel to keep people from rushing, coming up directly on the wall and kind of rushing up this way to slow them down. So that's, I think that's the general kind of plan that the mayor was talking about. We're hoping that we take it in. Yeah, you want to go on?
Just a quick, everybody can hear me, right? Yeah, I just have a quick question. What's the timeline on this?
So, with the traffic commission, I don't need permission of the traffic commission to put sidewalks. I do need permission of the traffic commission to put stop signs and stuff like that. The speed bumps are not traffic controlled, the speed bumps are not traffic controlled, so the only thing that they would have to go over is whether or not they're going to put those stop signs. Now, those stop signs are mostly for sight distance. We can't use them, just for making everybody prevent speed. It has to be the sight distance. 14 no parking in the front, that's unbelievable. So we're trying to get it so that everybody has at least a chance, and that because a lot of one-way streets will build with three ways. So they'll say, okay, well, we don't have to watch for the people who come down. So that's what we're trying to do. But we need permission from the traffic commission to do those changes for the traffic control device.
How do we support you at the traffic commission?
Okay, so Council Harris and Council Lowell, will get your information,
We have it.
and you're going to have you sign something, and they will present it to the traffic commission, so you don't have to take time off from work. And we'll say we had the meeting, and you know what I mean, and that's what we were going to do. And then from there, we'll present that as that.
Madam Mayor, what I could do is send out a petition online, since I have that, and you sign the petition, and that gets sent to the traffic commission. So we'll start the petition tomorrow.
One more thing.
Sure, go ahead.
Is there any chance you can go back 5 years on the accident information? Because at Lowell, there has been some terrible accidents all over town, and it's destroyed property to the point where it's thousands of dollars in repair.
Okay, so Council Cass had a very problematic intersection where the woman rode her head. So when they looked at the accident, I'm not saying they were running the accident, it happened, so we're talking about, I have a little bit, she got a broken head, somebody came on the roof and her against her house. So, well, that's another thing, that's an uncommon. So I'd be happy to go back by this, that's what you want, because you want to get rid of that. Okay, so I can take that down.
Got it.
I was taking down the notes, please. 5-year traffic request, incident accidents.
In terms of the sidewalks that are already there, so we made these be removed and redone, they're coming up, or?
We have to dig that wall out.
Yeah. So would the sidewalks need to be more narrow to allow more room for the road to expand?
Okay, so you have to have a minimum of 3 feet to about 5 feet from handicap. And then you have to have handicap, parking line to the side. So, I think, what do you have in this? We had that in design when we were working. I think, yes, you have a maximum 5 feet there. So, when they get up there, we have to at least deal with the westerly side because that is a parking area, and they're already out into the,
Yeah, we will show you the sites, yeah, sorry,
so we're gonna try to at least get that, and then we'll see how much we have left over. But when the engineer actually goes out and designs the plans for the sidewalks to go to it, we'll be able to give a better guess at that, because the election to the layout. Okay? Waltham is the city engineer. I don't know if you know him, he's a wonderful man, and Eric is his right hand guy. I want to thank them for all the work that they did, because they did the first set of plans, the second set of plans that were, basically thrown away, and then they're doing these plans. And they went out, we spent more than an hour and a half out there with them, so I just want to thank them very much.
One more question. A number of us that cycle, a lot of us cycle, and there's a distinct shortage of safe bike paths throughout the city. I really appreciate you putting in the bike path on Orange Street. And I'm hoping that
Senator,
there's...
they needed permission to request something, but I'm just telling you. We're going to go with Arterial Street first. So I have put before the traffic commission 3 plans they come up with on arterial access. So the east, the center, and the west. So I'm trying to have them connect to the Riverwalk, the rail trail, and the railroad. So in between that, if they agree that there's a couple of arterial options, on each one, but if they agree to that in principle, then when the city goes out to work on those streets or anything, they would establish those as arterial bicycle paths and pedestrian. So then, any connections to those would have to be studied differently, because each neighborhood might not have, I would never put things in the neighborhood, but on arterial, I feel, because we have the railroad and the Riverwalk, you know what I mean, and the city paid for the Riverwalk, so because we have that, I feel that's a tremendous transportation network too. So I would like to say, that, the state highway ACI, and then you have the rail trail. The rail trail eventually, it stops at Viva, or it stops at Clinton. I just had some of the stats, it was something that was waiting for the class. But right after that gets to be when it has to go over to the government. That hasn't been built yet, because that path is so close to the rail that the Department of Transportation, DCI, have not yet agreed on what's the safest route to get from Reed Street there to Propeller Road to where Belmont is. But when they do connect those, right now we have them going up here to those roads and crossing the road, but we won't have to do that once they figure out what that happens. So that we're on that table, and then the 3 of them went to the council today. So, and Bob, I've got everybody's 17, so I was able to put it in my docket today. So that will be discussed at the city council, because I'm asking to use the land for a specific purpose. Now, normally, I'm trying to help the council here. They usually have to ask me, and then I say yes or no. In real estate, it's the only time that, normally the mayor proposes and the council disposes of things. With real estate, the council is supposed to propose, not dispose, okay? But I'm trying to get some activity on that, and I also, I think it's a thing that has to be studied a lot. I'm just sending out these ideas, and engineers are helping, and so we're trying to do it as a team. But I hear you, so Eric, local, I call them local bike paths, and arterial. So that's how we have it for the doing roads. The main streets are called arterial, and the local streets, the neighborhood streets are called local, okay? Anybody else have anything? Yes.
Can you hear me?
Can't hear.
Do you mind coming to the mic?
Someone needs to,
And it's being recorded, so we can...
Is it on? Yep.
Oh, no.
Relax, Carol.
I live on Newton Street, I live on Lowell Street. I know how bad it is on Newton Street, and everything I understand is that it is actually worse on Lowell Street. So the people on Lowell have my sympathy, and I think that trying to address this is wonderful. One of the things I heard that you mentioned, you read out of the traffic manual, and then you mentioned it again a little bit ago, was that stop signs must not be used for speed control. But as we were kind of going through the plans, it was mentioned several times that the stop sign would be there for the purpose of slowing people down, and I was kind of having a little trouble reconciling that.
That's it, talk. We're not talking about it. But when he's an engineer, okay? I'm very good. But I have to show the accidents.
Yes.
I have to show other data to determine that it meets the law. And sight distance, so remember I talked about the number 8 one is the traffic, so I have to do the accidents and the sight distance. If I combine those two, I think I'll have a better chance, and then the engineering study has to be done by the traffic engineer. So when you do all those things, he has to determine it meets the law. But I'm just saying, I feel all the streets in Southside should be treated the same manner I'm talking about. This street here, the sight distances of Lowell Street are pathetic. Pathetic. And if somebody said, why do you go over this so much doing this? I said, well, you know, my grandparents were on the south side, many, many years. So, you need to experience it. And I tell them all the time, you need to go out and experience it. You know, you may not live in the city, you may not do it down here, you know, between 8:30 and 4:30, on Monday to Friday, you're not necessarily going to see what we see in the evening, what we see in the morning, what we see. So I went out with every time, I wasn't that far, I was kind of crazy, what are you doing? I said, I'm trying to see the pattern of the people when they're running. So that's what we're trying to say. The sight distances are what I think the most problem for any municipality right now looking at this. Because not only do you have enough accidents, and some people say, and I heard it already, well, those are minor accidents. I don't really care. I don't really care. It's an accident. So that's what we're trying to get, those two. And then with a little bit of engineering, you know, because it is an engineering judgment. So, but that's where the lawyer comes in and me. Well, I'm telling you there's a problem here. You have to take reasonable efforts to resolve that problem. If you don't, you're going to expose the city. So that's what I want to do with the analysis.
Say that, I hadn't mentioned it. Almost every intersection of the sentence.
Yeah, we definitely have a site distance from Brown to Main Street. So I think a lot of rules are like that. So if I understood correctly, what you're saying is that the stop signs are designed more for a safety issue than necessarily slow people
That's
down.
correct, because what it does is everybody, you know, years ago, we used to say, who has the right of way? On that accident I was in, at the time, you were driving across the Junior Road, you would know that Seawood Avenue was the road, you weren't from Seawood. So, but 50 miles an hour, so first thing out of his mouth was, I had the right of way. The cop took me over there, I had to go to the hospital, he said, but see, that's the issue. People need to know who does have the right of way. And that's one thing a stop can do. There was a gentleman that came the last time, and he said, listen, people. He was,
Jay Bourgeois, corner of Washington and Lowell.
there's only one thing that's enforceable here, a stop sign. Everything else is not enforceable. And that's key. So, you know, when you have to do a four-way, in this case it's a three-way, you've got to decide who's going for it. Because Waltham is going. And that's what I'm talking about the sequence. I think that will address the sight distances more than the steps, than curving. They just, you know, so we're trying to. And when Bob came up with every other one, you know what I mean? That is a reasonable, you know, we could say, put one at this one. Well, they say, well, you know, that's ridiculous. Come on, what are you trying to do? But that's how bad Lowell Street is. Wherever it is. Lowell Street's bad, West Street's bad. But you see, we need to get this full south side. But we're going to start here, and then I'm going to require the police department to get that data, and I don't have it on the wall, so they will see how many accidents. How many accidents? And that's going to determine your safety claim. It's also going to determine where you put your enforcement. So these type planning things is what I'm trying to achieve. And to me, this is one neighborhood. That's why when they bought the south side, it was one neighborhood. But you want to know why that we sold it to Waltham? They couldn't decide who was going to pay for the village. So they said, we're giving it to you to pay for the village. So, and everybody knows the river defines the south side. So what bridge was it? They didn't say what bridge was, but it was $1,000. So that's what I was trying to say. It is one neighborhood. But like every other neighborhood, everybody has to. Now, in the 50s and 60s, when people were first buying their houses and everything, there weren't as many cars, there weren't as many people, but now, it's like tens of millions. So we're trying to convince them to do something. And I said that they don't like speed humps, that's what the warrant calls it, they don't want speed humps. They don't like that, so I said, well, how about this time? You know what I mean? So we're trying to get them to agree. Now, some of them work for me in the capacity in the city side, but I can't supervise them within the traffic commission because they have independent authority based upon that. Okay, but I think in fairness, they're tired of it too. They want to do something, but I don't think that it takes 6 years or 4 years.
It took 6 years.
So these guys over here, you know, how many times you gotta go to get it?
6 years to get Myrtle Street. 6 years.
And I was down there when Myrtle Street was first put in, the first day I almost died. Because some people didn't know it was there, but we found out because the crossing was right there. Okay? So, all right, what are the questions?
Well, I do have a couple of other questions, but I want to make sure everybody else gets a chance.
I think you can continue, Jack. Go ahead, just finish your questions and we'll pass it on. Go ahead.
Okay. My next question was about this green house. You know, I live in a one-frame house, which is that type of building is claims to be in front of the ground in less than half an hour. And I'm under the impression there not being any expert on this, that speed bumps can cause the fire department response to be quite delayed.
Depending on the size of the pump, it can. What it does is cause unfair damage to the road. But the ones that I'm proposing are rubber and not, you're not made out of top, you're not anything that would be built, hopefully in the wintertime, but.
So they're like in the world, what's it actually?
Crescent and Adams.
I'm recommending that they be out at least every season except one.
I mean, I think it's that kind of thing. That's great. We got the lines painted and the partnership painted on Main Street. As far as I can tell, they're painted the way they're completely able both of them open for parking space. And I wonder if there's anything you can do, if you're going to do that at all, so we can work it.
Okay, so I didn't get the whole thing. Is it the type of paint you're talking about?
I mean, people parking in the parking space, they do not care about it.
So that's important. So you mean that they're ignoring?
Oh,
Okay, good.
I live in the Delhi, so, like, nobody cares.
So I would have to have the chief, she has the ability to monitor that more carefully, especially when we use it.
And then my last question is about, being on YouTube, what does it do? I mean, if the timeline, how it will take to kind of percolate over thoughts.
Well, I'm going to ask the police department to gather the data right away, and then our capital meetings are due at the end of December's meeting. And so I'm going to say, what's your next one? Now, I'm a different type of person. The traffic commission usually responds to people's requests. So you have a petition that you put before the traffic commission, then they study. What I'm doing is I'm going to say, no, I want you, because you're coming to me all the time with requests outside of the CIP. So I want you to do the proper planning, like I'm asking, so that you know what are the most, if you're supposed to put your capital request in priority. So if you have, say for example, another street that has this much, these many accidents and site distances, and that should be done. Right now they have probably 3 other big projects that they go out with. I have to change that mentality because I can do it with this easy. Because the police department enforcement. I cannot put the traffic, I can only ask them. What I can say, however, and it's a little thing that I have, if you want money from me, you better follow that process because I'm going to do what he's saying. You see what I mean? So I do have the discretion to say to them, just like I did here, I had to stop this whole process because I knew once they were in it, they would see. They didn't go before the traffic commission because most people were. These 2 representatives were. And they came up with something that was going to dig up a lot of infrastructure on the south side. Now, in my experience, digging up infrastructure on the south side is usually you find things that you don't want to find. And it usually causes a lot more delays when you have some more people who put in drainage and stuff like that. So, what I said to God, what are we doing? This is a sidewalk. This was meant to be, to make it safer for the pedestrians, for sight distance pedestrians and drivers. I said, I don't understand. But what is it? And then I found it was an infrastructure problem. But that's why I stopped and we got to come back. And I apologize for that, but I couldn't let it go forward. Because they would be looking for money, and then this would be go to it, and you would never have had an opportunity to even say anything until they go out there and maybe they can start to dig up the street. That's not right. That's not the way we operate. Okay?
Thank you. I think everybody's looking for an ample time, at least, somebody who's going to plow into, by somebody passing through north or south that doesn't even live here. So I think I'm really excited to see something happen.
Thank you very much. 249 Main Street, Brick House. That was ice cream. M&M House. Moriarty and Manhattan. Moriarty had the building on the corner of Wood and Manhattan, that big building. Little history, the house outside. My request, and then this gentleman right in the back. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Ron?
I'm trying to record for everybody.
I'm unsure of how long it will take to get this 3-way stop signs because the traffic commission works in mysterious ways. That's a fair statement.
Well, this report is going somewhere.
It's going to the 3rd.
In the meantime, we have a significant problem on Lowell Street between Pine and High Street. There are 3 or 4 individuals with very high-powered cars, some of them without mufflers. Between Thursday nights and Saturday nights, between the hours of 6 and 10, with love for the police to patrol more heavily on Lowell Street, to stop the on-street drag racing. Please.
On-street drivers.
That's an enforcement thing, it doesn't wait for that.
Thank you. I was just wondering about, we want the roads open, so the sidewalks are in the narrow, roads on the west side and the east side, is that the idea?
I can't give you the exact answer to that,
two things. One, snow removal, which I think is probably an impact on this if we have 3 years snow. And that would probably literally removing the snow and trying to push it further as well. I just don't know how much. What I was going to cover is snow emergency in that case, but yeah, I think this is next. I know a lot of people sort of are beyond not just outside of the lines now. So, and I understand it's 10 feet to the edge of the intersection, you're not supposed to park.
25.
25 to
20 feet from the intersection.
20 feet from the intersection.
Yeah, that's why the sticks are there.
Well, certainly in the side streets, that's not happening. It's certainly a law, and it's on the street, it's parking rights, do they park, will parking lot? I don't know how much enforcement you can do in the parking lot. Okay, so it's an issue of enforcement, you don't have to have enforcement.
No problem getting the time, get your something, but if we don't have it delineated exactly on all the way, then we have that.
So what about the side streets as well? So the issue is the enforcement. I think the speed bumps, speed cushions, that's what we call it. I love that influence of that. That's great.
Certainly not.
So they put the signage on Crescent Street and they had that right. Someone said,
that's all they could convince them.
thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris. I live close to the cross between Lowell and Merchant, so I just want to say thank you for bringing that down time because I've heard at least 3 accidents there. Probably about a half dozen post calls. I was pretty certain it was going to save a life. Thank you. Just one quick question. Since there's 4 stop signs going westbound and 1 going eastbound, is there a risk of congestion?
Can't hear them.
Just on the distribution, is there going to be a lot of congestion going west? Because there's 4 stop signs going west, 1 going east, and 1 east.
It's going to be a three-way street.
There'll be a three-way stop.
Yes.
The intersecting streets are one way, so you don't
There's
get
a one-way.
Yeah, but there's 4 going westbound, right? And then 1 going eastbound. Is that a rush hour concern?
Some of them are two ways. That's right. This is both ways, all of it is both ways, the other the other way, so 1, 2, 3, 4,
You're talking east and westbound on
5.
Lowell Street?
There's 5 going one way on, I know what he's talking about. There's 5 going one way on Lowell. What he's saying is, will it cause a congestion?
But back on the
Back up. But see, because some of them are 2 ways, it's hard to say, but up here, there's more density down here, okay? But up here, it seems they don't have any problem coming out of that street and flying over here to go to Washington Avenue. And that's what they do. I watch them do that a lot, so. But I think because all of it is 2 ways and, cars, like this one here, it's 2 ways because of the school and everything. I don't know, but we'll watch that naturally. If there's a consequence that comes as a result that we get it in and it affects it, naturally we'll have to take that into consideration.
Thank you.
Okay? So that's whether or not they'll back up
And
because it's 5 one ways.
I'll just say this, cars have to wait across the street to make the street safer, and we can change our law. We're not trying to move you fast for the south side, trying to get you to slow down, so, because that's the walking path to the good one. And we're standing in the rec department's main building, and also the Waltham Family School, and and people walk here. So, this goal isn't to move cars fast through the south side, it is to get them to slow down and to get them to realize that there's other people trying to use the street, and it's to create awareness. If there's a lack of awareness and there's empathy for the things that are around them. I will say this, at Lowell Street, the most I've seen for cars back up in the morning is like 5 cars. And it's maybe a 2 or 3 second delay because the traffic isn't equal crossing. Lowell has more traffic than trips down that street and the cross streets. So what we're trying to do is get people to stop on Lowell, to save for people to cross. Once all the accidents that have occurred in the last 2 years, the 5-year data shows saying is when people are trying to cross the street, including a school bus, they were struck by an oncoming car. So very, very important. Thank you for your question. Anybody else want to speak?
One more point. The other thing I have to tell you, the traffic commission will look at that, because that's what they have to look at, the traffic commission. Okay? Because we still have to get their permission.
In terms of the study, I think when Newton did the study of Waltham Street, and they said that the mayor came out and said they had to pay the stripe in the middle of it because it was 6,000 vehicles a day or something. So there was some rule about actually putting a center line down the street. So I don't know if that's going to be a consequence of the study around the number of vehicles.
I'm not going to question that. I don't know that there's different colors that are allowed to line. So I'm not going to remember that positive. Sure, yeah, what they said.
I'm Felicia. I've been on Wall Street for 7 years, and I really appreciate how walkable the community is. And I'm really happy to see these improvements, because I wasn't able to come to this last meeting in September, but just happy to hear a lot of feedback that I felt and my neighbors felt would be applied here on this plan. The only thing I was curious about was on the flyer first night, there was a version of this plan that had the east side sidewalk changed to a bike lane. I just wanted to confirm that's not the plan, and that it could just great sidewalks.
Because the traffic engineer said to me, the width of the street, Lowell Street, would not really accommodate a bike lane safety.
I appreciate that, because, I think a sidewalk is really important for pedestrian safety as much as bike lanes are important for bikers as well. I personally just felt way more comfortable with the race sidewalk for me, so thank you, and thank you for noticing that.
Everybody.
Hi, thank you, everybody. My question is kind of piggybacking on the sidewalk conversation. So there was some conversation about what is required to have traffic commission approval, what's not, infrastructure costs, and why the initial plan from traffic commission is not what we're talking about tonight. I'm curious about the timing that someone else also brought up. So it sounds like sidewalks are going to be redone with the granite curbing as part of this plan, but the raised crosswalks and the curb outs from the initial plan also go a long way to slowing down drivers. And so I'm concerned that if we redo the sidewalks now, then we're not going to have an opportunity for any other improvements to the infrastructure for a long time. I'm just curious to talk that out in the talk.
I hope, because I said that the only enforcement thing I can stop, I'm hoping to get an answer to that, and that it wouldn't be a piecemeal. Say they say no to this plan, well, we gotta come up with another. And, you know what I mean, because we cannot, we went in, and they didn't really do anything with skeptics. We went in to have the all those crosswalks made, because we wanted something at the last time. But I'm hoping we're going to get this together, so we're not wasting time.
To further support what the mayor is saying, because I've been before the traffic commission for 6 years. There are 5 studies that show the progression of the problem on Lowell Street at several intersections. All I received in 6 years, up until there were 9 accidents at Lowell Street, some pretty devastating when on the school bus. There was no intent or thought process to, even though I asked for comprehensive safety studies, I didn't ask to study the intersection, I asked to study the road, and I worked with the Warren Council to do that, the prior Warren Council to do that. So in those 6 years, we got paint, we got some sticks that you go, the delineators to stop, and Warren Councilor, when we escalated this recently, shared with the mayor, there are situations where people with small cars park in between the delineators. So what was proposed for curb bumps only address the parking at the intersections and don't address line of sight or other things. I also want to say we removed all possible parking. Do you know how unpopular that is? That is incredibly unpopular. But people would rather lose parking than lose their life. And that's kind of where we are now. So I really appreciate the mayor and engineering department's thought process. When we go to the traffic commission, we'll have a petition that you all can sign. And I'm also going to send it to the 81 residents that were here, and I'm going to door knock and ask them to sign that petition along with the Ward 9 councilor. And we're going to fight for this plan. Because in the absence of it, what we've got is paint and some sticks and a bunch more accidents. Nothing is safer. It's a constant battle of debate. And that original plan that was passed never went through your eyes. I mean, I don't call that a public process. I call this a public process, one for which I fight. Anybody else?
I just wanted to say I appreciate the work on this plan. I know we've been here a few times and happened to work on this for years, so I just want to say like I appreciate the effort to slow down vehicles. And my only concerns would be with the speed bumps being seasonal. In the winter, people still speed, and that also when it's dark early. Kids have a program that they're slow in work and walking in the dark. Just because it's dark doesn't mean that people walking around. So it would be nice to have that accounted for and sort of in the winter slow out people. And also the paint in the corners, what do we do to keep people from parking in those? Because even if we do the delineators, those are still seasonal.
Okay, so Bob just said to me before we started there, they gotta go all year round. You gotta go all year round. So he's gonna advocate for that, and I will as well. Because he knows that once you take them out, and he said there are ones that they can buy now that can withstand plows. Cool. Okay, so that will be the change. Cool. Based upon what I'm getting here, I'm gonna add these things to the comment.
Fire, I have such a fire, public safety, if you look at it. But there are, they're lower, there may be just a max of 3 inches, something like that. And, but that'll slow people down, but it won't affect public safety. So that's the kind of, you just have to talk to public safety about it.
Yeah, because they don't have to slow down to like 5 miles an hour. Right. If they slow down to like 15 or 20, they're keeping it easy in the road.
Proper signage, proper painting.
And then I also appreciate the looking at the bicycle lane and somebody who bikes every day to work. I take the massive for a while every day. I appreciate looking into it, but Massachusetts law says that cyclists can take the lane on roads that are not permitted access highways or unless it's explosive, we can take the lane. So I'm confident taking the lane on Lowell Street because if I'm walking on the sidewalk or pushed to the side, I'm not visible to anybody coming across the street. If I'm in the lane, I'm visible. And it allows safer passes. But if I'm all the way to the side, somebody just kind of goes right by. I don't need a full, safe, kind of pass. And I think with Lowell Street, we should, like you said, it's too narrow for a safe bike lane. I think we should emphasize on making the road safe enough to bike on 20, 25 mile an hour speed limit, safe passes, not going 40. I think we can emphasize that and focus bike infrastructure on some of the wider roads and safety measures happen. I mean, this is a neighborhood street, so I think it should be for everyone. Thank you. Anybody else?
Ward 9 councilor, good to see you. Yeah.
Thank you. Hardly know where to stand. So, again, in addition to myself, we have the 1-8 councilor, Kathy Ann Harris. We also have Councilor at-large Carl Stoddard, down the back. We have, is Paul still here? Oh, there he is, okay. Paul Katz, Councilor from Ward 7, and we have Councilor at Large Emma Kazumas with us. And I have to know, Emma's in my ward, and Candy won Bigelow on the school committee. We now have 3 elected officials from Ward 9. We're a powerhouse. So, I want to thank the mayor for putting this together. Thanks for the binder. Of course, I'm seeing this like all of you the first time tonight, so I do have a few questions. My question on the speed bumps was answered. They're really more speed bumps. Because a lot of times people will ask me, can I have a speed bump? And I say, you don't want a speed bump outside your house because all you're going to hear all night is thump, 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 thump. But the speed hump is a little bit wider, shouldn't be that problem. You, in the binder, you mentioned the blinking lights that we have at Taylor, in Lowell, and at Cushing in Lowell. And you gave a little history lesson earlier on the south side, so I'm going to give you a little history lesson. You may already know this, but those lights were put in at the urging of the South Waltham Neighborhood Association, which was basically very early in Louise Gang. And I think it was even before Gene McGrath's time. I think it was back when Ted Sullivan was the councilor for the area. And those 2 intersections just had so many bad accidents, really bad accidents. And that's why they put those in. I'd hate to see them, even if they're changed into 3-way intersections, 3-way stop signs, I'd hate to see those taken out. I'd like to see that recommendation just simply change the yellow lenses to red lenses. Because, yeah, so it can be, they'll be flashing red, and that would reinforce the stop sign. Yeah, just because if it's going to be a stop sign, a stop on Lowell Street, then you don't want it flashing yellow because that means, doesn't mean, it would conflict. But all you need to do is just change those lenses to red, and now you get a flashing red, which will reinforce the stop signs. That's one. Now,
It's got one more flash.
is this saying that you're going to put in granite curbs and cement sidewalks the whole length of Lowell Street? Okay. Can we have some applause for that? Because I don't. Yeah. Yeah. I just want to make sure that because a lot of what we've got along Lowell Street, especially I know between Pine and High and sections beyond up in Ward 8 is the asphalt berm, which it's just not as effective and it gets chewed up by the snow plows.
In fairness, the ones that were done with community development block grant, the ones that we did.
Yeah.
Those were done with federal money, so we have to have.
Now, one last thing that I'd like you to consider, and everybody's been following this all along. When we started out, we were going to do bump outs at the corners, which you'll recall in that degrees, and we ran into the problem that was pointed out by engineer Wynn, that a lot of those corners, you have storm drains. And it would be very technically difficult and expensive to relocate the storm drains. And if you do relocate the storm drains, then you run into drainage problems. They don't properly drain the street. However, and I can't speak for the Ward 8 council, but I know in Ward 9, at 3 of the locations that currently have the vertical flex posts, there are no storm drains at those corners that are on the opposite corner. So could we go back and just take a look at that? If you're going to be putting in cement sidewalks and granite curbs anyway, it wouldn't take much at just those 3 spots to do the ball-outs because you're going to be doing the work anyway. So that's just the last thing. Is that if we could take a look at that, that'd be super awesome.
Where would the stop sign go with the bump out? One of the reasons why we got rid of the bump out, we want to have the stop signs on the line.
Yeah, but you could still put the stop sign on the bump out.
So,
Yeah.
Send me a schedule, please. Send me a schedule.
I will. Thank you very much.
Okay, this is the awardee list. I'm assuming the Warden Council will be in alignment. I'll look back to make sure. Madam Mayor, one of the things that, as you know, I'm a huge champion of is trees. And I heard tonight, the trees are going in on Lowell. Can we get some applause for that? The next thing I want to ask is, it seems, the street, when it gets painted with these, stop, the parking spaces, the crosswalks, it's nice and illuminated at night and it looks great. And then after 2 seasons with the snow plows and the salt, the paint degrades. And I'm wondering, because this is, kind of major thoroughfare in our city, are we eligible, would you consider thermoplastic paint, and we could get 5 years out of it, given that it's a safety corridor for the schools and everything?
So that request is for the traffic commission to put it on the demo list.
Do I need to submit that for this month?
I would submit it as a recommendation.
Okay.
You have recommendations here?
Yes.
Yeah, put that in your recommendation so that you put that in.
Okay.
Robert will put his in, and then I put mine in, and then it's attached.
So, Councilor Logan,
Because the traffic department, the traffic commission is in charge of the line. Public works is not.
correct. Okay, my next question is, thank you for that, we'll enter that as part of our recommendation. My next question is related to, when we make these changes, I think they all seem really great to all of us, and again, can't thank you enough.
If we get the approval to make this.
I'm gonna say the glass is half full, because I'm going in there manifesting this thing, okay? I'm taking the hill. The part I want to ask you is, when you make these changes, they are a little bit abrupt, if you travel on the road, you don't know they're coming, you're not following city social media, or maybe you are just a busy person. One thing that the Ward 9 council raised when we put in the stop sign at Myrtle and Lowell was to have a temporary solar flashing stop sign. And I raised this to you in an email, you asked me to ask it here tonight. We're saying temporary. No, they were temporary.
Yeah, when we put the four-way stop at Highland and Curtis, for like 2 months, they put up temporarily a solar-powered one that had red LEDs all around it, just so that people would get used to the fact that it's there, and then they switched it over to a standard stop sign.
So now you're asking, okay, temporary is different. Don't you all think that would be a good idea? Yes, let's hear applause. And all the nays, and any nays in the room, think that's not a good idea?
I can attest that those signs work.
Okay, here we
I
go.
go to that area all the time. And the first time I came up and I had to stop, I went, oh, thank you, Jesus. I have to stop here. And the cars were actually stopping, and the ones that were there waiting went, and then the next one went. Everybody was just, and I'm like, yes, why can't we have those on every street corner? You're not done, obviously. But to get everybody on board, because it's actually a lot of places that I found living in Waltham my whole life. So everybody can hear you? A lot of what I have seen living in Waltham, certain intersections have the same cars that go through them all the time. Unless you're visiting Waltham or you're new to Waltham, most of the time, we all get our own little ways that we're going. And the other thing I have to say is the stop signs, the four-way, the three-way, they work. And even if there's a little bit of space in between, they do try. And I think you brought that last time, they just go faster to get to the next one. But they gotta use, it has made a difference on Adams Street. I'm just waiting for a stop sign to fly around Common Street.
My next request. Thank you, Gail. I saw that. Thank you. So then I would make a recommendation, part of the recommendation is to request temporary baked in.
How do the sidewalks in that season, you know, right?
That was my next question. So when we say things can be implemented pretty quickly, we hand this mic back to you.
They have to do the design, and then it has to go to bid, and then the contract, you know, the processes. Which takes time.
So do we have to wait for the stop? So to you, Mayor, and the engineer, do we have to wait? Go ahead. That's what I wanted to know. So is everybody in favor for stop signs going in first and then we do the rest of the infrastructure in the spring? Can I hear applause for that? Any nays on that? I see none. Okay. Seeing none, I'll turn this meeting back over to these guys for closing statements. Does anybody else want to speak? Again, I want to thank.
You got one over here.
Right over here. All right.
So where we live on the western side, we share a driveway with our neighbor. The property line is split right down the driveway, so we really have to pack our cars in. And I'm wondering if there is a way for people parking on the street, for that white line to be moved a little bit further, because sometimes it's really hard to get in and out of our own driveway because people are so close to what?
Well, I didn't notice that. He said, look at it. You read it up to the thing,
Yeah.
We noticed that when, you know,
I had to call the cops on a couple people because I literally couldn't leave. I didn't know who owned that car. I had no ability to back out of my own driveway. Yeah. Okay, so awesome.
So, we have to make sure that when they actually do
The line paving, that they have a plan that would include that, because sometimes they just go like this, ding, ding, ding. No. So we have to make sure that's on the plan. And your address, can you give us the address?
23.
That concludes tonight's neighborhood meeting on Lowell Street, safety improvements, and I want to stress big gratitude to you all coming here tonight and for anybody who will watch this on future telecasts. We will be getting a petition out to get support for the mayor and myself and Council Logan. If you're not busy on the third Thursday of November at 10 a.m., we will be at City Hall fighting for this. I want to thank the mayor, the engineering department, and all of you, It's the power of community, it's the power of Waltham, it's the power of the South Side. So, proud moment. Thank you all tonight.
Thank you very much, everybody, for coming.